This location was built for full-service pizzeria sit-down experience, but also for a to-go program. Making sure that we were paying attention to quality control, not just in our own dining room environment, but how pizza reacts, 30 minutes later in a to-go setting. This assembly line was built with to-go in mind.
Yeah.
And so everything's gonna get fed from stretching to topping to oven to eventually our to-go program on the other side. So we're in kind of the beating heart of Flour and Water Pizzeria.
Flour and Water, the original, has a wood-burning oven. The heart of that menu is really the pasta program. And so we only do kind of 2 Neapolitan-inspired pizzas out of a wood-burning oven. When we wanted to expand in the pizzeria, like Chef Ryan was saying, we wanted a product that, one, was as craveable as possible for us, but then 72 seats in-house, but then also our to-go program. How do we balance that? How do we make a product that can live up to both of those? And Elliott can start stretching a dough and kind of talk through it. Obviously, the first step of it not being a Neapolitan is, one, our recipe and ratios and flours, and we stretch everything on wooden peels that have a semolina base to it. We really, really love the texture that adds to it. So
maybe you can walk us through some of the ingredients that you use.
You want us to give away all of our secrets? No,
if you can.
Yeah.
I mean, YouTube
subscribe,
loves it.
$2.99. Yeah.
All right, so for our restaurant group as a whole, quality ingredients is really, really important. So what we want to make for you today is a classic pepperoni pizza. I think it's a great metric for judging a pizzeria.
Hell yeah.
You're either going marg or pepperoni to really see what's going on, or cheese.
Sure.
But
Somewhat
quality
of a
ingredients.
controversial take, though. Everyone says cheese and marg, but I definitely agree with you. A little bit of pepperoni doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and what pepperoni you select says a lot about you as a pizzeria owner.
Yeah, chef.
So the reason we wanted to do this, one, yes, it's a great metric, but also quality ingredients. Starting with the flours that are in this pizza dough, we're using central milling. We use 2 different flours. High Mountain, which is one of their bread flours. So high protein content, it's at like 14%, somewhere around there.
Very strong.
So it's gonna give us, texture, chew, stability. But then we also do their ABC Plus, which is essentially an all-purpose. Lower protein content. What we've discovered through testing for the to-go program is reducing the protein content and gluten. You actually get a crust that maintains texture better for longer. It's not gonna like break your teeth because it's dried out and become like chewy and cold. So first quality ingredient, central milling. What just happened is an important part of the to-go program, which is all of our red builds are sauce in the middle, we say. So after the dough stretched out, a thin layer of really, really thinly sliced dry mozzarella.
4 pieces. What's thinly sliced? Half an ounce? An ounce?
It comes out to almost an ounce of cheese, so it's like deceptively rich, our pizzas, because you don't see that when it's delivered to your table or your door. We want coverage to protect, and what that protection does is a couple of things. One, cheese it's salty, so it's a layer of seasoning on the base of the pizza. But 2, it's gonna protect the dough from sogging out from the sauce.
Yeah.
So there's this little barrier. And then the third thing that it does is when that pizza goes into a 600-degree oven, the cheese melts and it becomes extremely hot. It's gonna maintain temperature in a to-go setting even longer because it has that like grilled cheese effect going on.
Sick.
We've found that layer, it actually allows for a little bit of oven spring to happen in that undercarriage because it's protecting the sauce isn't hydrating 100% of that, and so it actually allows for a little bit more of an oven spring. One of the things of the pizzeria here is that we want like very chef-driven and inspired toppings to sit next to classics. And like when we have the pepperoni, like we don't want to F around with a pepperoni and just put something chefed up or weird on it. So this one's definitely a more of a homage to a classic.
Awesome. And then is that what kind of pepperoni?
Ezzo cup and char. which we all love. High fat content, which I think when you're eating pepperoni pizza, you want it to be a little bit of a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
We do a combination of crushed and whole peeled to get the right water content or consistency for what we prefer. And the only thing that we put in our sauce is like a touch of salt and some dried Calabria and oregano, and that's it. To increase the heat or the spiciness of the pepperoni itself, a little bit of the pickled Mama Lil's peppers from up in Portland.
A little bit of balance too with the acidity and
The acidity definitely helps cut that richness.
That's it.
And then all of our pies get finished with Parmigiano Reggiano.
Okay.
We kind of think of that as like the finishing salt of a dish in a different style restaurant, where you want that last little bit of seasoning.
Prior to hitting record, we were talking about the intentionality of the 13-inch pie.
We didn't want to do a Neapolitan. We knew that we wanted to lower the temperature of the bake and extend the baking time. We knew that we wanted to go into electric deck oven. And so, it is not, we didn't want to do a large 24-inch New York City. We didn't want to do a 12-inch kind of personal Neapolitan. So we wanted to kind of start a step in between. And so it landed us on what we thought was the best gram weight, which then landed us what we thought was the best lucky diameter of 13 inches. And when we set that, like all of our packaging then had to be custom, because it's always like 12 or 14 inches, not really knowing that, but still we really wanted to like stick to our guns. And hit that 13 inches.
Yeah, and that gram weight's 300. And this kind of beautiful thing happened with the gram weight, because we do two styles here. For rounds, it's just the 13-inch diameter. But for our slice program, we're doing this hybrid of like best of Sicilian grandma, touch of Detroit, for something we call just the flour and water hybrid. And to do a 12 by 12 Lloyd pan, it's 600. And so in our dough room, when we're going like full scale production mode, it's very easy that, we're weighing out two weights, and if need be, two 300s become a 600, and you're out of the shits.
By the way, I just want to compliment you all on the squares, because that's essentially how I begged Mac to let me come here and interview you all.
We have to give credit where credit is due, that Elliott played a large role in developing the big slice here.
We were so lucky that worked out. That never works out in a pizzeria, and the versatility of the dough that we have produced it's a miracle in my opinion.
And then one other thing, sorry if I forgot, but hydration, what was it?
72%.
So 72% for both.
We do an overnight poolish, about 16 hours of fermentation time. We mix it about 52%, but the addition of the poolish into the mixer bumps us up, because it's about 20% of our volume at a 1-to-1 scale. So it's 100%. It gives us another 20 points on our mix.
That poolish radically changes the dough here, and 72% with this poolish feels way higher than that. Sometimes it feels like it's like a 78%. And there's we love the outcome. We believe in it, but it also adds. There's benefits, and then there's things that we have to manage within that.
Such as?
Well, the benefits is that it's even, our best doughs with all these proof retarders, we're doing 24-hour, we're doing, 16-hour poolish, then goes into 24-hour bulk fermentation. The best life of our dough is around 3 to 4 days. Sometimes it's hard to keep 4 days. Our dough is still fantastic at 5 days. It's just rarely do we have enough room that we're sitting on 5 days worth of dough. But the great thing about the poolish, and why it affects an almost seemingly a different hydration level, is that it is deceivingly easy to stretch even an underproof dough.
Nice.
And I mean that there's good things to that you're not working with a rubber band, but that rubber band is sometimes protective of employees trying to stretch underproof dough. So it doesn't necessarily feel underproofed until you get the oven spring or the results from the oven. So not necessarily a bad thing, but just something to like that we have to keep in mind.
Heard.
We're after a unique dough. I want people to look at this pizza and be like, oh, that looks like a flour and water. And that's a ton of different textures and colors throughout that cornichon. And it really stretches. When you saw Elliott beginning the stretching process, it's a little unique here because it's actually it starts with a dimple, and that dimple almost more like a focaccia style, maybe less aggressive. But as you're stretching that dough, it's creating unique different levels of air pockets in it. So as it rises, like we want that cornichon to have variance to it, variance of height, variance of texture, variance of color.
The rest that we do as well, the unrack up here, that really helps as well.
You got to showcase that for sure, right? Letting some of that steam out, and that's key to building not just the best pizza, period, but also the best deliverable pizza.
The name of the game for restaurants, if you had Elliott make you a perfect pizza from start to finish, it would take X amount of minutes. He'd be watching that perfectly. Like this is a crazy busy restaurant. You're always going to have to, and this is like kind of fucked up for a chef to admit, but like you have to understand like where you're okay with quality suffering or how to work around it. It's not going to be a perfect world.
Yes.
Where are you okay with that?
Yeah.
You know, and what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to like really put a stake in the ground? And I think that's the name of it. It's a fine dining restaurant or it's pizzeria. Every chef is going through that notion.
Heard.
We want different textures throughout and different coloring. We're not just looking for the for that like leopard. And I think that there's a huge difference in like trendy charring and burning, you know. And we went right at the level where it's
Pushing the border a little bit?
it's charred, not burned, but like, you know. And then I think that plays so well with some flours versus others. So
Going in, before we go in,
Yeah.
perfect crust. This is gonna also help for the crust sogging out.
And that's our 30-minute delivery time.
Directly in the box. And then one thing that we've done design-wise with this location is everything's hot held in a cabinet that's temperature controlled, but also we have ventilation. So as like more and more pizzas go into that to-go chamber, we can open the vents, and so there's not like this sauna effect happening in there. Rack system, cut, box, and then straight into the hot hold. Like I was saying, as this thing fills up with a ton of to-go pizzas, especially like Friday, Saturday night, there's moisture that's going to get trapped in this chamber. So we can ventilate to let some of that off. Because we want it hot, but we don't want a sauna environment. Even though it's protected by the box, it's still affecting the finished outcome for the delivery.
That's dope.
And then when we're slower, like right now we just opened, we can trap all the heat in there and make sure that it's as hot as possible.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna let this chill for about 30 minutes. We're gonna come back to it and do a little bit of a taste test to see what we're working with here.
totally.
Cool. Talk to me about this cheese here. What do we got?
We have the Baccio, which is a combination of both cow and buffalo milk, and it's great. It's an amazing product. I was combining the two, and I still do sometimes, like put buffalo and cow's mozzarella together, but this is a product that actually already did that. It gives you that flavor profile with the still sweet and creamy taste.
Schedule a demo today and let them know What's Good Dough sent you. See how quality and profitability can actually go hand in hand.
So when we did recipe testing for the pizzeria, just like any restaurant would do, we tested dishes, we tasted it as a team, we critiqued it, we tweaked. But the one addition that we did here is we would take every single pizza and to-go starter, we would put it in a hot held environment for 30 minutes, set a timer, and then come back to it and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And lessons learned from Flour and Water, our first restaurant, which does Neapolitan style, 1,000-degree wood burning oven. That pizza's delicious right when it comes out of the oven.
Wow.
When it hits the table, it's great. But Neapolitan style pizza it's a ticking time bomb. The quality just goes down by design. It's supposed to be wet, and it's a fast bake time. So exactly to your point, we want to do that like stress test of, are we still proud of it 30 minutes later?
I feel like a lot of people these days don't want to leave the comfort of their household or their office.
Totally. Yeah, and it's like we want a fun pizza party, whether you're here or you're doing bong rips on your couch and you get one delivered to you.
You heard.
Toasted color. You can see that semolina has like toasted as well. That's going to add a lot of dimension in terms of crust. If you
Get a little, we'll never be to go like this perfect, and it's just not the pizza we're going through, but we also don't want to be a crazy, soft Neapolitan, you know? So we want it, but to still have a little bit of crisp. It's the Ezzo pepperoni that just got flavor blasted, you know?
Yeah. But
Also,
even,
that layer of cheese is adding seasoning throughout and holding heat.
yeah, you can sort of see that, you can definitely see that rise right here that Thomas was talking about, right? So there is that lift. Little micro steps have to be done. There's no one magic solution, like increase your hydration.
I think that just like any other restaurant, and no matter what kind of food you're producing, there is no bazooka of secret. It's just trying to do many little things the best you possibly can, under the most control and under control of the chaos of a restaurant, you know?
And I know we have more discoveries to learn. It's not a finished process, and any of those things that we can control a little bit more, we're always analyzing what we do.
Like that mentality, I hope always sticks with us. Like we're just questioning, is this the best right now? Is this the best? Like this is not the end ratio of this pizza dough. It's not the end source of flour. It's like we're just constantly tasting and tweaking, and I think that's really important because it shows momentum.
Pizza is one of the most delivered foods in America, and so it's an assumed, I can get this thing to my door. How do we do it the best?
Yeah, please.
That's another thing is like, you know, when you go to New York, people are like, oh, it's the water, it's the water. It's like, no, it's not the water.
They say it's the water.
It's not the water, it's just know-how. There's just more people that know how to make pizza there. And so we pride ourselves in training and getting people to the point where they're basically just carbon copies of like, you know, our chef team, so that they can just produce the same result every single time. And I think that's know-how is actually the secret ingredient to like making a really outstanding product.
Great. And what you all know how to do at this restaurant is make amazing pizza, but also, as we saw in the dough room earlier, you know how to make pizza that scales, which is now feeding your Mission Rock location and soon to come a new location. Are you all able to talk about that today?
We can tell you this, we're coming to the East Bay.
Opening in the East Bay, you're going to take your hub and spoke model and continue to test and stress test it to go even farther than outside the city limits.
Yeah, and it's the same thing we're talking here. Like, you know, we want to try to control as much as we can. So that's why the dough room is here. So centralizing dough production, one team pushing out dough in the Bay Area versus each individual one producing, just it allows more control, right? And then from that, you know, this is the flagship. This is where you interact with the brand. So big dining room, full liquor program. But these shops that are around that are coming to the Bay Area, we first look at the delivery radius. Tiny little shops, 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, not a ton of seating space. And so we look at the delivery radius. So Mission Rock, amazing that we're right outside of the ballpark, and then being able to feed delivery to more south of the city. And then when we look at future locations like the East Bay, it's somewhere where the Fire and Water brand is relatively well known, and all of a sudden you can pick up a phone and get it delivered to your house. You know, so it's like completely untapped over there.
Well, I'm excited to see you all over there. I have two questions for you all before we wrap up. If you were to do Flour and Water Pizzeria all over again and build the new flagship, we were sort of talking about how, you know, this dough production might get maxed out in the future. So this actually might be like a thought process that you all are already thought about. But if you were to run this back, what would you all do differently?
Well, we actually had that opportunity because we moved the flagship to this location in North Beach, and we could have very easily just did everything that we did in its previous location. But because of our kind of intuition or our approach of always questioning what we do, we analyzed everything that existed, even changed the dough recipe multiple times before reopening here. So I feel like this is the second chance location.
Anything else?
If we could do it again, maybe spend a little less money. Just spend a little less money. Like the toys and the layout and like no seriously, like Chef Ryan said, the volume that we do here is pretty insane. Like if you look at a Saturday from opening to closing, and so we had to build this to handle volume. So it seems exaggerated and stretched out, the stretching and topping station, but we feel like we really had the experience of Valencia Street to come here and say, okay, this is exactly what we feel like we need, you know. And then this whole hub and spoke model is something completely different for us.
We have good infrastructure too with 3 decks where, you know, on a full rip we can do 24 pies. That's a nice chunk of pizzas that you can operate on and like still be very efficient. The lower oven is a little hard for taller people like me to operate, but then we've got some shorter guys that really like using it, so it's like everybody's got their own little spot, and like we can rotate and get good heat on the bottom and be very, very efficient. Now it's a longer bake than a Neapolitan pizza. You know, a Neapolitan oven can only fit, you know, maybe 5 pies like max. So we're rocking with 24, and we can usually push out, you know, when we get these big like catering pushes, we can push out 100 pies in like under an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
All right, so I do have one tweak actually.
Send it.
So we built this as this perfect assembly line where you stretch into top, into oven, into box, into this to-go area. The oven is not right next to stretching, and with pizza, how you stretch affects how pizza reacts in the oven so much, and there's not that constant dialogue. So one thing that we fixed with the Mission Rock location, and will forever do moving forward, is rather than that L shape, it'll be more of a horseshoe. And so the beginning and ending of stretch and cook, they're next to each other and they're communicating. Just like a solo pizzaiolo that's doing it all themselves, we're able to have that in future locations.
Great tips all around. Final question for you all. You all have been very gracious with your time. I appreciate it. There's no right or wrong answer, and I'd love to hear from all of you all. What's good dough?
It's all good dough.
What's good dough? I guess good dough is, it has like love inside of it and care and attention.
What's good dough? All dough. I think the coolest part about pizza is quote unquote bad pizza has its place, you know? Growing up on the East Coast, like I heat a slice of Elliot's in the oven and I'm like brought back 30 years. All dough.
Thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Cool.
Great meeting you.
Thank you. On a Saturday, we can bury almost 3 full towers of dough. That's 750 doughs.
Sheesh.
Knowing that we wanted to create the infrastructure of the dough room, is we also turned it into a revenue center. So every night, this room, we transition into a tent talk.